see the writing on the wall. I grasp the distance in your eyes. I know the end is coming near. I hear it daily in your sighs. Wish I could snap my fingers just like that to move the hands of time, take us to another place where all is fine. And there I see your face once more as I walked into your door. A moment like that would make me come alive. I saw the stars bright in the sky, flickering on a crystal night. I know not how or why I forged a path of shadow and light. Knew the time had passed me when you said you met another guy, but you lost my chance to find a new romance. Never took the steps or even walked into your door. If I had, I know I'd feel alive. I see the writing on the wall. I grasp the distance in your eyes. I saw the stars bright in the sky, flickering on a crystal night. The river time flows upstream. I can't chase the steps to a time that once stood still. Yet memory remains forever. I pray it never goes away. A moment will make me come alive.
Happy Thursday. Happy Acoustic Thursday at Studio 51 on WNHH-FM. You were listening live in the tiniest of all tiny desks to Steve Mednick, the folk songwriting, singing, new song machine, an attorney in New Haven who was out with his, was it 150th album?
150th, I think. It's 147. My 24th.
24th, and that's for real, folks. He didn't make up that number, 24.
That's real. That's real.
Steve is our guest today, a return guest. We love having him in the studio at WNHH-FM. We do live music every Thursday. We're original musicians in New Haven. So Steve has a new album out. Demos Are These, volumes 10 through 12. And that was a song from that album, right?
That is a song from that album.
What's it called?
It is called Writing on the Wall. I should have known that. It's called Writing on the Wall.
But you weren't talking about reading the writing on the wall. You're talking the person actually writing on the wall in the song, right? I noticed you were inverting the saying a little bit.
Well, kind of, but it was more of the metaphorical writing on the wall that I could see it, even though it's not up there. It's a relationship song. It's not something I've ever experienced, frankly, because I've been married to the same person for 50 years and 7 years before that. But it was a song that just came to me and wanted to try to articulate what I think that would be all about.
Mm-hmm.
Lost love, found love, lost love, and being forlorn and thinking back about that love. But the demos are these albums. Can I talk about that for a second?
Yeah, because you do all these different albums. You do political albums every year. You started making albums what year?
2006.
And you've put out how many again?
24 plus a compilation album.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you just crank them out while you're working full-time as an attorney, writing charters for towns across the state?
Yeah, don't tell my clients I'm doing this while I'm representing them, but there's not a day that goes by where I don't write. When I'm where did I write that song? Well, I wrote that at home. I wrote that at home last November. But, I write on my walks in the morning very often.
How do you write? Do you bring a phone that
Well, I have my phone, but but the writing is more
in your head.
In my head.
So John Prine used to say when he was starting out, he was a postal worker, and he'd run home and have all these songs he's writing in his head and write them down really fast before he lost them.
Well, I have my phone, and if I do have lyrics, I can either speak them into the phone or I can play a melody into a recording device I have in the phone. But it really is a wonderful place where ideas come up. I mean, I had a song a long time ago that I wrote about this young couple that I saw one morning. And the song blossomed from, boy, they look really happy. It's Sunday morning, and we know what they were doing the night before. They were together the night before. But is this a long-term love, or was it just a one-night stand? And so I speculate on that. Will I see them here a year from now? Will I see them 5 years with the kids and the dog coming down? And so you just get a little kernel of an idea, and you can then write a song.
Seems like morning walks are really important to you. I notice on Facebook you often have these great pictures. If you're here in Hamden by the New Haven line, you show us some spot we might not have noticed that you notice. When you're in Florida, you have beautiful scenes by the water.
Yeah.
And that's kind of your creative time, huh?
That is a creative time, unless I'm walking with my walking mate, Matthew. Then we just
Then
talk.
it's argument, yeah.
Then we just argue. For the entire time. So I really cherish my times alone on the walk. I love Matthew dearly, but that's okay. Don't take offense. But it's a wonderful.
Well, going wide is important.
Yeah.
I know when I have times, for me, it's at night sitting on a porch with bourbon or something and just going wide and looking at the sky. Your brain rearranges itself and you are calmer and you think of ideas you might not have thought when you're encumbered by the daily rush of tasks.
Well, that's right. The other
responsibilities.
The other thing is that I read a lot. This is my reading time, actually, noon. I started this at our place in Florida. I would work all morning. I would walk in the morning, then work for 3 or 4 hours. Then I would take lunch and go to the pool and read, and then come back and work. Here, during the pandemic, I just started going on my deck every day, even in the middle of the winter, take a novel out or a current events book or history, and just read. And I find that the problem with me in reading is I view most of what I'm reading as the foundation for something I'm going to derive. I've written love songs out of Doris Kearns Goodwin's book about Teddy Roosevelt and William Howard Taft.
That's things people don't usually think of Doris Goodwin Kearns as the muse for love songs.
Well, she is, and her latest book is a love story. It's about her husband, and but this goes back before that.
But the political.
But her chapters on the love letters of Teddy Roosevelt and William Howard Taft and their wives. Taft lived in our neighborhood. I go by his house every morning. Are remarkable, and they were great opportunities for music.
Let's just say, Taft, didn't he become a Supreme Court justice after he was president?
Yes.
It makes you think about what can you do after you're president.
Yeah, well, he's up there as one of the great ex-presidents. He, Herbert Hoover, Jimmy Carter are the three great.
What did Hoover do as an ex-president?
Hoover headed up the Hoover Commission, the redevelopment of government. Truman brought him back in after his years in the wasteland during the Roosevelt. I mean, he was the greatest pre-president and post-president. I mean, his rebuilding of Europe after World War I was absolutely astonishing. His role playing with Truman and Eisenhower and Kennedy, for that matter, on government reorganization.
But he blew the Depression when he was in president.
He blew the Depression. I mean, he was just a horrible president. He just was not. You can argue that Jimmy Carter. I think Jimmy Carter is going to be viewed as a far better president than we viewed him at the time. If you look at his 4 years and legislative accomplishment, he was quite an accomplished president until the Biden administration was probably the most successful legislative president since Johnson. And people don't remember that because it was the norm. And so we didn't think he was as good as he could have been. But when you look back
and also
now,
how stuff gets spun with public relations, the beginning of a new era when there was this constant scrutiny of style to an extreme rather than just in passing. Exactly. So like before you could be Franklin Roosevelt in a wheelchair, you don't even know it if you're the public. But now if Jimmy Carter has a bunny jump in his boat and like almost bite him, that's what you're hearing about. If he's wearing a sweater to say, let's turn down our thermostats because we want to conserve energy.
Yeah,
and
we also became much more judgmental. The Christian right was developing during that period of time.
But I think what Harry just posted, everyone does believe he's a better person than president because he's been quite a remarkable ex-president in promoting peace around the world and helping people. So, Steve, you do this series of albums. So a lot of your albums are about politics. They have a theme. You have a series called Demos Are These, which originally I thought was politics because it's written as one word, which made it seem like some kind of Greek word from demos, which might be pop person. But you started making this series of albums in the pandemic in 2021. And you've remarkably written 66 songs just for these, and that's not all the songs you've written in the past 3.5 years.
No.
How do you turn all these, and what's the theme of these?
There is no theme. They're all over the place. There are some political songs in there. There are songs that are love songs. There are songs that
Well, what
are...
makes it a defined series? What makes it different
Well,
from
the
the
defined
06?
series, here's the thing that defines it. The idea of demos are these was the demo part of it, being... I am not the greatest musician in the world. I have some terrific people that work on my albums. And we had to figure out how to cope with that during the pandemic. And so I said, if I play the acoustic guitar, I can basically say, it's not a finished product, it's a demo. And so that was the fundamental concept.
How's that different from what people always do? Don't they always start with like the demo?
No, you start with the demo, but you don't release the demos.
But you released the demo where they just added their parts.
No. You're going to hear much more of me on an acoustic guitar than I was on any other album. If you go back to my albums before the demos or these series, I never played, maybe once. There were no songs with me.
Was mostly piano?
No, I play guitar on tracks, but you never heard me alone with an acoustic guitar. On demos are these, it gave me a chance to play guitar, strip down the songs, and just be me and the guitar. So if there was a mistake, if the vocals were off a little bit, it's a demo, so who cares?
So you didn't do different versions and rework them?
No.
But you do have other musicians on the album.
No, that's right, because it's not entirely a demos album. And what happened was, even during the pandemic, I would go into the studio, we'd lay out a rhythm track, send the rhythm track to Carl Allwire in New York. Carl would lay down his bass, lay down his guitar, then come back, and Isaac would lay down the drums. So we did very few in-studio live production, but we did a lot of cobbling together.
So is that the difference between this and your other albums? The others are done in a studio where people are playing at the same time?
Usually.
And this is just where you lay down a basic track that's sparer, that has a few tracks built up. You notice that when you add a drum, it's a lot of times an effective moment of a drum in a recorded song is when everybody else pauses and it kind of takes you to the next step. Can you do that when it's the third piece that you're laying on? Do you go back and cut out part of the other instrumentation?
Well, what you do is you record to a click. So you're recording rhythmically to the same click, so that I'm laying down my...
But what if he wants to? What if you decided when you're in the studio that you want
It's
to start
hard.
with the drum?
When you have everything laid out, it's hard. So for the most part, I would try in the original rhythm track to sit with the drum if we could. He may do other percussion at a later point. So we just... last night we did vocals, but 3 weeks ago we just laid down all the rhythm tracks for about 7 songs on the next album, which is the political album.
And then is this demos or these series? Are these all the albums you've done since 2001, or did you in fact record other material besides these 66 songs?
I had at least two albums from the Problems in Democracy series, because we had the 2020 election cycle. So I did something there, and I think I did a second one. I had an album that I did last November, which was which I think I gave you today, which is an album of love songs, the broad theme of
and
love.
why wasn't that part of the demos of these series?
Because they were full productions.
Full productions in the studio.
Yeah, in 1952.
That was a nice part. Yeah,
my 70th birthday album. All full production, all full live rhythm tracks. The difference between demos and these and those is that we really tried in all the songs to have an organic foundation, and then we would build on that organic foundation from there.
But that started with you and the guitar.
No, not always.
Okay.
No, not always. I mean, it was me. We would usually start the way we do the rhythm tracks. Carl Allwire, who's really one of the great players from New York. He's in the Bandoleros. He's got his own music going as well. Carl would usually play the bass. We have Isaac Civitello, Eddie Seville's son, who's now producing me, on the drums. And I would usually play my Telecaster, actually. Even on an acoustic song, we would lay down the basic track with an electric guitar, electric bass, and the drums. And then we build from there. And sometimes you'll take my Telecaster out, put an acoustic in, Carl will then lay down a lead, because it's usually the three of us that build the albums. We have other people playing on them. Of course, Jerry Jimo's played on some of these, other people from...
But it's less produced, fewer instruments, fewer layers than your other albums.
That is correct.
So why don't you let's hear another song from your new album, Demos of These. And why is it volumes 10 through 12 if it's one record?
Oh, because it's an affectation. Within the album, I have little subheads.
Oh, okay.
Take a look at it.
And what are the subheads?
Well, you have the album in front of you. I don't have
Okay,
it.
Time, place, and peril. Okay,
That's correct.
That's
yeah.
cool.
And I think this is from the peril part.
And what's the song called?
Winds of Freedom. So on the album, it's actually called Winds of Freedom Part 1, because the song wasn't finished for this. I have finished the song, and the whole song is going to be on the next album, Flights of Freedom, which is my political album. So,
And you're giving us the full version.
you're going to get the full version, and you'll recognize in this. We'll talk about it afterwards. There are phrases in this album that somebody should recognize from their readings. Let's just put it this way.
Okay, you're listening to Acoustic Thursday Studio 51, Steve Mednick.
All right. I want to climb Mount Everest. Then I want to touch the sky. I want to feel the sun on my face, taste the waters of the Nile. I want to walk along a city street without fear of reprisal. I want to choose my destination, don't need your views of God. Here's another thing that matters. It's a plain and simple truth. I want the winds of freedom for both of us, me and you. I want to breathe the air around us, bathe in the morning dew. I want the winds of freedom to push or pull us through. That's where it ends on the new album.
Oh.
And then it goes to the next part. I want these truths to be self-evident, that all of us are equal. I want the same rights for all my friends and people. I want our voices to be heard, not lost to dissonant jabber. I want to trust the words I hear, the words that really matter. Here's another thing that matters. It's a plain and simple truth. I want the winds of freedom for both of us, me and you. I want to breathe the air around us, bathe in the morning dew. I want the winds of freedom to push or pull us through. Things don't break on their own. There must be a reason. You can build a wall or tear it down after it's risen. You can pull the bull by the horn or wait for divine intervention. Look ahead, we ain't looking back. I want to feed 3 parched travelers under the shade of a tree. I want to embrace angels from heaven and find out what will be. I want to come together in the name of freedom and liberty. I want justice for our brothers and sisters. For this we cannot wait. Here's another thing that matters. It's a plain and simple truth. I want the winds of freedom for both of us, me and you. I want to breathe the air around us, bathe in the morning dew. I want the winds of freedom to push or pull us through. Things don't break on their own. There must be a reason. You can build a wall or tear it down after it has risen. You can pull the bull by the horns or wait for divine intervention. Look ahead, don't look back. Look ahead, don't look back.
The Winds of Freedom.
Yeah,
Steve
The Winds of
Mednick
Freedom.
playing live in the WNHH studio
Yeah.
from his new album.
And the next one. That's actually
And
songs
then
on
the
both of
demos
them.
are these,
Yeah.
volume 10 through 12, and then part 2 is going to be a what album?
It's called, what's it called? It's called,
So we'll find out when it comes out.
no,
When's it
no,
coming out?
it's Flights of Freedom.
Oh, and-
Flights of Freedom. And when I wrote the album originally, it was going to be a declaratory statement about Flights of Freedom because I have no idea where it is. Right now I'm writing the album cover with a question mark because I think things are looking more optimistic. But who knows? We could talk about that too.
And are you coming out before the election or after?
That's another debate. I was in the studio, literally recorded the vocals to the song last night, and I was talking to my producer that we're really trying to get it out before the election. But I did that in 2016 and regretted it, and realized I should hold off. And we had to actually change things on the 2016 album because Hillary lost. So I wanted to capture what happened in the election. So I think we're going to have most of it done, and it'll probably come out after the election, just in case there's something I need to write that kind of finishes the story, because we don't know what the story is at this point.
Are you feeling confident that Kamala Harris is going to win?
Yeah, I feel pretty comfortable.
Wow, I don't understand that. I understand where it's coming. I understand why people feel so much more excited if you're for the Democrats because there was no chance of winning under Biden. Kamala Harris.
Well, I disagree with that too.
Well, very little. But Kamala Harris, since she came in, there's all this energy. It's a tide race. She brought up the numbers in every way. She's performing well. But still, it is a tide race. And in 2016, when you wrote that album, Hillary Clinton was much further ahead in the polls than.
And so was Biden 4 years ago.
So what's that?
I think
where's the overconfidence come from?
I'm not
Steve?
overconfident. No.
Well, you are if you think if you're.
No, I'm not overconfident. I'm confident. I think that we can win, and I think we will win. I think we're going to win in states. I think she's bringing in states that were not competitive even 4 years
Agreed,
ago.
but I mean, before Biden dropped out, New York was in play. It was
I
down to
don't
8
think so.
pounds.
That was
New
just-
Jersey was tied. You don't believe in the polls,
I think the polls are hard to read right now.
but they've never been against Trump.
That favors Trump, actually, in some ways. But I think she's going to energize new populations that were not necessarily energized prior to this time. And deep down inside, and this may be the idealist in me, I just don't believe we're going to elect a convicted felon.
So you said we're not going back or turning back in the song.
We ain't going back.
We ain't going back. So that was that very consciously the Kamala Harris.
It was before that. There's what's very interesting about the freedom.
So you wrote that before she started using that line.
Yeah. Well, I also have a song that on the new album, Demos Are These, Try Saying That to My Face, which you may play later, my retort to Jason Aldean. I have used the word freedom a lot over the years. I recently approached a good friend of mine, a musician locally, with the idea of doing a concert for freedom. I think this is even before Kamala Harris was the nominee. Biden was still the candidate. And I thought that maybe we could bring local musicians together and we could raise money for not-for-profits, for different organizations that deal with important issues in our community in New Haven. And I said, but the title would be The Concert for Freedom. And he looked at me and he said, isn't that kind of a right-wing word, freedom? And I said, they're not stealing that word from me. That's not, I don't view it as a right-wing word. I do see what they're talking about, the Freedom Caucus in Washington. And I think Kamala Harris has embraced the word as well.
Well, that's
so I'm
conscious.
thrilled.
So since Harris started running, they said, we're going to use the word freedom to talk about abortion or talk about being able to go to the bathroom. You want to go to the bathroom and be, transgender. So they've consciously done that. But you're saying that before they consciously did that, you had been working on a political album about using the word freedom, saying we ain't going back. So now you're working on this album. You're just trying to decide, do you release it before the election? But you're looking back to 2016 when the script didn't play out quite like you thought.
Yeah.
So now you're going to hold back just in case.
I may. Yeah, I may. I mean, the songs are all written. The songs are all being recorded. We have a final session on rhythm tracks next Friday. So most of it will be done. But the way these things get produced, by the time it came out, it'd be the end of October. And so my thinking on it was, just wait. Your album is not going to have impact on the election. Your album is more like your reflections on the election season. So just hold off and release it in November, and you can then tell the story as you understand it by then. Now, of course, if she wins and you have the loser going to court and leading
Rebellion number 2.
Yeah, rebellion number 2, whatever you want to call it, insurrection number 2, all bets are off because you could still be in the election cycle for all you know at that point. And
we're still in the 2020 election cycle.
Well, I mean, the other night he couldn't even agree that he had lost that election. I mean, I just don't believe in the end that that people will. The majority will not vote for him under any circumstance.
Well, I think if he loses, I think it's not going to be like last time because they're more ready for it. They're planning. They got.
And he's not the incumbent president,
right? So he can't use the military. And also, I think people are tired of Trump. That doesn't mean he's going to lose because I think they agree with him more than they agree with Harris on some issues. But I think they're just tired of himself because that happened last time. He lost. They got tired of him, and then when they started to search his premises and arrest him, people got interested in him again. I mean, he wasn't on Fox for like 6 to 8 months until that search warrant. So I do think if he loses the election, people are tired of him. Because his routines aren't working at the debates. Even when Biden lost that debate, Trump's numbers were not positive. People didn't like to listen to him ranting about the last election.
If Biden had simply been
coherent
and mundane, he would have won that debate because Trump would have been Trump.
Yeah.
No, there was nothing great about Trump's performance in that debate. There was something frightening about President
So,
Biden.
Steve, where are you going next? You got another album coming up.
Got another album coming up. I'm working on the next 2 albums, and because we have so many songs that were left from prior albums, I've decided to kind of put them into.
How many do you write a year?
My wife just asked me that last night. I write a lot a year, but I only put out maybe 1 or 2 a year.
But how many songs do you write a year? Say 30?
No. 60, 70.
You write 60, 70 years. So you write more than 1 a week.
Easily.
Do you go back a lot and rework them?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I have a whole series of songs. I mean, I have about 600 song titles and songs that are written. I've only released 230, I think, or 330, and over the years. So I still have 3 or 4.
And you came to this late in life. You're 72 now?
I'm 72. I started this when I was 50.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's been.
I mean, you had played music before when you were young. You used to go to Gertie's Folk Village and stuff.
I used to play as a kid.
Folk City.
I have a Martin 12 that I bought in 1969 for $750, which was a lot of money. And
that was money back then.
It took me 2 summers to buy it. And it was the dumbest thing that anybody could have done. I bought a 12-string as my first guitar.
Well, there was that moment in time when 12-string was a new thing. It sounded exciting, but in my opinion, and it really works certain kind of music like the Band America where you're kind of strumming, kind of dreamy. But I think it really limits you on bending strings or having any kind of...
Or learning how to play.
Okay.
That was my first... I mean, I had a cheapo little Stella guitar, but my Martin was my guitar. And I brought it to college, and I found I just wasn't playing it, so we brought it home. And I still have it. It's a wonderful guitar.
So what's the kind of Martin you have again now?
Well, this is a Martin D41. That's a Martin 12. I don't even know what the number is on that guitar, whatever they were making.
And why do because I always brought up think Martins were the best. And then when
Taylor? I'm sorry.
No, but then I took one to get fixed that I inherited to George Youngblood, who's the luthier. And he said the way you play, I could tell by the fretboard, you actually need this Gibson Gospel because the action is so much closer to the neck and tighter together and you can play bluesier.
Yeah.
And I did. My brother said, you're crazy. You inherited a Martin and you traded it for a Gibson Gospel. And I said, I think the Gibson Gospel is a much better guitar. It's much more soulful. I mean, everyone's different because of the way you play. But there's this this kind of given that Martin is always better. I mean, it is the...
No. Martin is better if you prefer playing a Martin. I don't think there's any... I think Gibsons are great. I came very close to looking at a Gibson and buying a
Basically, it's what kind of sound you like. What is it about the Martin sound that you like?
There's a sweetness and a depth to the sound that is really terrific. And they record beautifully. I have 4 Martins now. And the one that records the best is the cheapest one I have. It's made of some kind of plastic. It's a plastic body with the wood neck.
plastic body.
It's a
Martin
plastic
plays
body.
the guitar because I mean we had Rose with him. I thought
Yeah.
part of the idea was the wood.
No, but it's a plastic guitar. It's I don't know whether it's acrylic or whatever it is. It's a wonderful guitar. I always bring it to gigs as my second backup guitar. You could drop it on the floor and it won't go out of tune. It's a remarkable guitar. And Eddie Seville, who produced many of my albums over the years, has said he's never had a better recording guitar than that particular guitar.
There's as much resonance with a plastic guitar body.
Yeah,
Wow.
records beautifully.
So,
And-
what song you play for us next from your new album demos are these?
Well, this is a song that I actually just wrote recently, so I didn't bring any other songs from the album. You can play a few on the CD if you want, but this is a one that I just wrote that I thought would be pertinent to where we're going right now.
What's it called?
It's called "We Won't Go Back." There you go.
And is this going to be on the next album?
This will be on the next album, and "We Won't Go Back" is taken from the vice president's speech.
If she loses, are you going to keep the song on the album?
Absolutely. Because we still won't go back. The rantings of a madman in the rumblings of a sad land. For so long we have endured your deceit. Now you're shrinking right in front of me. I see what I could not see before. When a stranger knocked on my door, I've learned that in darkness you shouldn't fear what you don't see or what you don't hear. Things don't break on their own. Your pensions are quite well known. The house of glass was shattered by stones. Shiny bright objects lay still on the ground. At night, the sheet of lightning flashed across the sky. The wind howled angry messages, I now know why. The thunder boomed loud, you could not deny. We won't go back, this is freedom time. Oh my, oh me, we've been played like fools. We fell for a scam, although we knew the truth. Let's reclaim our heartland, leave mayhem behind. Let's soar to the heavens and see what we find. It was summer, joy, born doubt. It took a while to figure this out. Sometimes the truth is all that it takes. A lie's a lie. It's time to escape. Is this a flight of freedom, or will it remain? Are we living in the past or building a new glory day? It's time to keep the faith, look deep in our souls. Happy warrior is calling us home. We won't go back, it's freedom time. Embrace our roots, throw out their lives. We won't go back, can't relive the past. Let's stand together, make these moments last. We won't go back.
We won't go back.
We won't
Steve
go back.
Mednick. Not from his new album, but from his next album, writing, what's Freedom, Winds of Freedom. No.
Flight of Freedom.
Flight of Freedom.
Question mark. Flight of Freedom? Yeah, it was pretty definitive, and I've turned it into question mark because I feel less definitive that freedom is flying away. But
you'll
we'll
have time to change the title.
I will have time to
Will it
change
have the
the title.
question mark if Karis wins?
No, I may have to change the title if she actually wins. So,
Well, Steve Mednick
freedom has not flown.
pouring out more than a song a week since for 22 years.
Jeez, not 22 years.
You said you were 50 now.
Yeah, I started recording in 2006. So, yeah, I started doing this,
Wow.
when I turned 50, I started playing. My best friend from childhood wanted to reorganize our band from elementary school, from 8th grade. And we did it for our 50th birthdays, his 50th birthday. And that forced me to come to grips with the reality that I hadn't touched an instrument in 20 years. I was busy being an elected official and an attorney. And so...
And your heart was in the music.
I think my heart was always in the music. Even when I was an alderman, I was the representative to the Cultural Affairs Commission.
Delivering the proclamation to Bob Dylan at Toads in early 1990.
I didn't quite get there. I told you that story.
Yeah, you didn't bring it back because you thought he'd think you were nerdy, which I don't agree with.
I'm not sure.
I think he would have been honored to get a proclamation from the city of New Haven.
I don't know. Sammy Gatenson told me that he thought that Dylan would have thought I was a nerd, and I kind of panicked and gave it to one of the roadies.
That was a great night, that Toads concert.
That was a great concert. That was really
played the whole album of his whole set list, including most of Oh Mercy, 3 times in one night with the G.E. Smith Band.
Political World. He played Political World 3 or 4 times that night. Yeah,
that was hilarious.
It was a great
but my memory most is of him playing Bruce Springsteen's Dancing in the Dark, standing out in the center, spreading his arms wide with electric guitar and trying to be Bruce Springsteen. I thought that was pretty funny.
Now Dylan is Dylan.
So Steve Mednick, congratulations on your next album.
Thank
Looking
you.
forward to another one coming out, because this just came out, right?
Yesterday.
And yet you have another one coming out right after the election.
Yeah, I mean, it's like journalists don't go to sleep and not pay attention to what's going on day to day, so I've got to do that. And, my wife wants me to cut back a little bit, which I'll try to do a little.
I hope you don't.
But here's the thing.
Young.
I talked to, I won't name names, I don't want to be a name dropper, but I was at a funeral in Los Angeles, and a very famous singer was there, and my aunt said, you guys have to talk.
Oh, the aunt who did the radio show where that guy used to
radio
perform.
Show, yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and so he and I go to talk, and he says to me, gee, Steve, you've done like 6 albums in 3 years. This is many years ago, or 4 years, or whatever it is. He said, I've done like 14 albums. I said, but you started when you were 16.
And he has a Grammy, right?
He's a big Grammy. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. This guy's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I said, and he's older than I am, but I said to him, but I have a very different relationship with mortality. And so my general view is I'm a fast walker, and younger people say, why do you walk so fast? Because I can. And someday I won't be able to. So I just do.
I love that.
Yeah.
You're a busy guy. So
Yeah,
Steve Mednick, thanks for coming on Acoustic Thursday,
Thank you.
Studio 51. Thanks to Harry Jaros, the
Thank you, Harry.
greatest of all time studio manager. Instead of taking it out with the Afro-Semitic experience, I'd like to take it out with a recording of an electric track on Steve's new album. The demos are these. And this is his response to Jason Aldean. It's called Try Saying That to My Face.
Or try saying that to my face. Why you cry about history books? Because they hurt your children's feelings. Your friends can read the Bible as they fill their veins with sky. You pray to an orange wizard to down the doors of the Capitol. Laugh at those with an education. You don't really get it at all. I'm tired of these country boys singing at the side of the lynching. I'm tired of these country boys, their pathetic cries of grievance. I'm tired of these country boys, they act like disciples of Jesus. They may brag about granddad's gun, yet granddaddy lost the Civil War. You wave the stars and bars like there was no 14th Amendment. Sing the songs of the lost cause to give meaning to your hollow past. You raise your hands in solemn prayer, meanwhile you're swilling in paranoia. Your ignorance knows no boundaries as you bow down to petty autocrats. I'm tired of these country boys defending their Jim Crow statues. I'm tired of these country boys. They act like ignorance is a virtue. I'm tired of these country boys. They are hiding in a music video. They linger in the shadows because they would wither in the heat. Everybody's met here. The people never sleep. Caught up in hero worship, they dug a hole so deep. When you hide behind the crowd, it's hard to take a lead. You're streaming your words, your fabrications and lies, your vile insinuations. Try saying that to my face. I'm tired of these country boys and their failed insurrections. I'm tired of these country boys worrying about those who cause them grief. I'm tired of these country boys as they march with their tiki torches. They swagger to the two-step, get staggered drunk in their two-bit lies.